The Magdalene laundries were portrayed by the Catholic Church as places of refuge, yet throughout the 20th century they often became prisons for girls and women used by nuns for their labour. This one in Dublin only closed in 1996, and governments here had been under pressure for years to acknowledge the past. On this day, it finally happened. An official report acknowledging that the Irish state was effectively working in tandem with the church in getting girls and women into the workhouses. It came with a sort of apology from government ministers.
It certainly was not their fault, and I think it is regrettable that no government intervened before this one.
The state got girls in, inspected their working conditions. Government departments had their laundry done by forced labour. Campaigners and victims welcomed this acknowledgement of the past, but they want compensation for their imprisonment and their lost years.
All my possessions was taken from me, and also I wouldn't eat for 3 weeks. I just wanted to die because it was just horrendous and inhumane. It was worse than any prison.
The report also said the nuns were often trying to do the best they could for some girls. That will anger those who say there should still be prosecutions.
The state, as Martin McAleese has demonstrated, was responsible for the environment in which they were held. The state knew that these girls and women were put into forced labour, unpaid, and were under lock and key. And it chose to ignore that fact, and now it's time to acknowledge it and apologise fulsomely.
So where does all this leave Ireland? Has the church less hold over the state than it once had because of this report? It was never the remit of this report to offer recommendations on what Ireland's current crop of politicians should do to offer compensation, either financially or morally, for what happened in places like this throughout the 20th century. But there's a very good reason for thinking that they would want to, and it's this. Ireland has just got itself a seat on the United Nations Human Rights Council, and the United Nations itself has described what happened in the laundries as a form of torture. The report also admits that the Irish state registered the deaths of women from the laundries and even buried them. Most of the victims of this are dead, many in communal graves. So are most of the nuns who locked them up, while the Irish state and society looked the other way. If a line has been drawn under the past, it's still far too late for many thousands of innocent Irish women known throughout this country as the Magdalenes. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera, in Dublin.